The next line we have is going to be called our suction line, also called a gas line. This is going to be the larger pipe. Remember, it's going to be larger because we allowed for expansion. So this larger pipe, I've painted it blue because blue is going to represent low pressure, but in the field it's just simply copper colored. So this is leaving the evaporator coil. On this coil down here, all these pipes come together into one tube, and we have one simple pipe coming out. Now notice this pipe has insulation on it. It should, and we're going to talk about that later on. But this pipe right here is our suction pipe. What we're going to do is we're going to look at our refrigeration cycle, and we're going to add our drawing. This suction line is going to go all the way back to the compressor. So this line has two names. It's called a suction line. It's also called a gas line. I simply like to combine it to a suction gas line. The state of refrigerant in this line is a low temperature. So if you touch it to your feelings, low temperature, and I'm just going to abbreviate LT, and then low pressure, LP. But the state of refrigerant is going to actually be a superheated vapor. I understand that talking about superheated vapor may make you think, what? What's going on? You have lots of questions. I love that you have questions. Hold on to those questions. Write those questions down. As we go through these videos, we're going to explain that. And there's a lot of magic that goes into that. But hang on, we're going to talk about it. We're also going to make sure we put arrows so that we know the refrigerant is leaving this evaporator, going through this larger suction gas line to the compressor. Low temperature, low pressure, superheated vapor. So if we physically follow these tubes, we're going to end up back to the outdoor unit. So now if you can see in our picture, our suction gas line comes all the way back to the compressor. It makes a complete cycle. If we follow the suction line, we see the suction line is going back towards the compressor. Now as we follow the suction line, it goes all the way back to the compressor. So now that we're at the outdoor unit, this suction gas, low temperature, low pressure, superheated vapor, is flowing all the way back to the compressor. We've now made a complete cycle. So this suction gas line, the compressor sucks in low temperature, low pressure, superheated vapor, pumps out high pressure, high temperature, superheated vapor. Vapor goes in, vapor comes out. Liquid should never end up in this line. If you also see, there's some similarities here. We have a blue gauge here, and this blue gauge has a hose that's going to hook over here to this port. Just like we had a port for the high side, we have a port for the low side. We also have a valve for the high side, where we can take this valve off right here. This cap. And there's a valve that we can open and close. There's a lot that we can do with that. We'll again talk about that later as well. But this is blue gauge, represents our suction side. The red gauge represents the high side. So if we see, we're looking at our gauge set. Blue represents our evaporator. Red represents our condenser. Anywhere that's blue should be approximately the same pressure. And anywhere that's red should approximately be the same pressure. Whole lot more details to this. But this is the suction gas line. The suction line is the fat line, the thick line. It usually has insulation on it. Very important that we get the refrigerant all the way back to the compressor. If you were to touch this line, according to you and your feelings, this line, the suction line, would feel cool to the touch because it's low temperature, low pressure. That's why we use blue.